If you're a mid-level to C-suite leader who wants to own your growth and figure out your next small, brave move to achieve your leadership goals, you are in the right place. Welcome to the Small Brave Moves podcast, a weekly deep dive on how to be braver in leadership and in life for exceptional results. I'm your host, Nicole Bianchi, best-selling author, certified master executive coach, NSA certified speaking professional, chief bravery officer, and tough talk expert. If you're ready to become a better, braver, and more authentic leader, let's dive in. Welcome back to the Small Brave Moves podcast. A few years ago, I was working with a senior executive team at a Fortune 500 company. They were smart, experienced, results-driven, and on paper, really thriving. Behind the scenes, meetings were long, decisions stalled, innovation had plateaued, and no one would say what everyone is thinking. Nothing was technically wrong, but something was off. And it wasn't strategy. It was courage. Here's what most organizations get wrong. They think performance problems are operational. Most of the time, they're emotional avoidance problems in disguise. Bravery isn't inspirational fluff. It's infrastructure. It's the invisible operating system that determines whether a team moves fast or drifts slowly while pretending everything's fine. So today, let's talk about what happens operationally, not emotionally, when leaders get even 5% braver. Because 5% is enough to change everything. First, bravery builds real confidence. I once coached a leader who told me, I don't feel confident enough to make this call. And I asked her, have you made hard calls before? Well, she had many, not surprised. So confidence wasn't missing, courage was delayed. Only 18% of leaders report feeling confident leading into the future. But here's the truth. No one likes to admit that confidence just doesn't come first. Action does. Courage precedes confidence. She made the call without certainty. And afterwards, she said, I don't know why I waited, because waiting felt safer until it didn't. Confidence isn't a prerequisite for brave leadership. It's a byproduct. When I speak at conferences or leadership offsites, I'm not there to pump people up. I'm there to create a behavioral shift before they leave the room. One small brave move, immediately executed, because momentum kills hesitation. Bravery drives profitability. Let's stop pretending this is soft. Organizations that practice brave leadership report a 33% increase in profitability. Why? Because avoidance is expensive. I worked with a sales organization that was plateauing. Leaders blamed market conditions. And the real issue? They weren't addressing the underperformance early. They weren't clarifying expectations. They were protecting comfort over clarity, which means low accountability, longer sales cycles, and passive resentment. Once we trained the team on structured, brave conversations and aligned standards, here's what shifted in 1 quarter. Accountability tightened, sales cycles shortened, internal blame dropped, and revenue increased. Bravery removes invisible drag in the organization, and most organizations are drowning in that invisible drag. Third, bravery deepens trust, and not surface trust, real trust. I was brought in to coach 2 senior leaders locked in quiet conflict, polite in meetings, tense behind closed doors. The team felt it. No one addressed it until we did. One direct, structured conversation, and that's all it took. The room changed. The energy shifted. And trust didn't grow because they were perfect. It grew because they were transparent. Psychological safety is not created by policy. It's created by modeling. So when a leader says, I got that wrong, or I need help, or this isn't working, the nervous system of the entire team relaxes because now honesty is allowed. Bravery unlocks innovation. I have seen rooms of brilliant people stay silent, not because they lack ideas, but because they don't trust the reaction. Innovation requires safe conflict, and conflict requires courage. And in one organization, team members admitted that they had stopped bringing bold ideas forward. Why? Well, they weren't sure how leadership would handle the disagreement. And that's not a creativity problem. That's a courage deficit at the top. When leaders learn to regulate their discomfort instead of react to it, dissent becomes productive. Ideas move faster. Innovation accelerates. And when people start speaking up sooner, breakthrough ideas surface so much sooner. Bravery accelerates decision-making, and decision is expensive. I facilitated an offsite where a major initiative had been under review for 9 months. 9 months! And in one afternoon, we surfaced the actual fear driving the delay. Wasn't data, wasn't resources. It was fear of reputational risk. And once named, it lost its power. They decided that day. Execution began next week. And bravery shortened the distance between sight and action, whereas hesitancy lengthens it. Bravery creates real alignment. Alignment is not built in slide decks. It's built in brave clarity when expectations are named, when boundaries are explicit, when hard conversations happen early instead of late. Performance rises. At my retreats, especially the Brave Leadership Retreat, we combine leadership strategy with nervous system regulation. Because here's another truth. You cannot lead courageously if you are chronically dysregulated. Bravery is physiological. And if your system is fried, you will default to avoidance every time. Retreat environments create enough space to interrupt the patterns, not just analyze them. Because awareness without interruption, it doesn't change anything. Now, let's make this practical. If you're thinking, what's the fastest way for my team to start being braver today? You need structure. 5 Tough Talks gives leaders the exact language to navigate those high-stakes conversations. The workbook turns theory into reps. Small Brave Moves in the journal makes courage measurable over 90 days. Some organizations use these for leadership cohorts, sales teams, culture resets. And here's what matters. Bravery compounds when it's practiced. So here's the real question. If bravery builds confidence, increases profitability, deepens trust, accelerates decisions, unlocks innovation, strengthens alignment, what's it costing you not to practice it? Culture drift doesn't explode, it erodes through softened feedback, postponed conversations, unspoken tension. Bravery drives ROI and avoidance charges interest. You're paying either way. If you hire me to speak, your team leaves with shared language and one immediate behavioral commitment. If we facilitate together, we identify real friction, name it, and practice it live. If you work with me one-on-one, we dismantle avoidance patterns at the identity level. If you attend a retreat, we expand that nervous system capacity so your courage becomes sustainable. If you bring my books into your organization, you create scalable, courageous practice. Different entry points, same outcome, braver leaders, aligned teams, faster performance. You have 2 choices. Develop courage intentionally or absorb the cost of not doing it. So ask yourself, what would change if courage became your team's competitive advantage? When leaders get braver, everything moves faster. Until next time, keep making those small, brave moves. Thank you for joining me for this episode of the Small Brave Moves podcast. If you're wanting to take this work even deeper, I'm here to help. From engaging in inspirational keynote speeches to transformational coaching and workshops for leaders and teams, page-turning books, online courses, and enlightening leadership development retreats. There are so many ways that we can work together to take your leadership to the next level. For more information, check out the show notes, and let's do this together, one small brave move at a time. See you next week.